Yeah. So without further ado, let me start by thanks Queen and PEMNA Secretariat to invite me here to share China experience. I was asked to review China's 4 decades journey of economic transition from the lens of fiscal policy, and also draw what the practical lessons we can learn from this experience for public financial management. It's indeed, given China's rich reform practices, it's a very difficult job to do. I try to make it in 20 minutes. So, as you all know that China maintained the China's story since the reform. Okay. So China's story since the reform and opening in 1978 is actually a story of adaptation and evolution. The fiscal policy has been involved very closely with economic transition. The economic transition, the whole fiscal regime has adapted with the change of the economic institution. And on the other way, economic transformation doesn't happen with automatically. It has been supported also with the fiscal policies and the change of the fiscal regimes. So in the first, here I try, let's go back. Yeah. So let's focus on the big picture. So I'm not going to come to the details of all the fiscal reform measures and PFM reform measures. Let's really focus on the big pictures. So in the early stage of the reform and opening up, China is starting as a closed economy and a planned economy. So the whole fiscal revenues depends on the submission of the SOE profits. And you can imagine that with market-oriented reform, the SOEs no longer generate adequate profits that can contribute into the government revenue. So that's a rapid decline of the fiscal revenues from over 30% of GDP to, at a lower point, is close to 10% of GDP. So this is the early reform period. And at that time, one of the key strategies is to attract the foreign direct investment, and the government at the same time provide all the tax preferential policies to the foreign firms. So, so by the time, in around 1993, the government found that the government no longer have adequate resources to finance its own public services. And more important, or more difficult, is the central government's share in the total revenue has been declined to around 20% of GDP. So the central government relied heavily on the negotiation with subnational government just for the finance its own wage bill. And so this is the kick in the major reform of the tax sharing reform. At that time, China introduced the value-added tax, income tax. So that's how the tax system adjusted in response to the new economic institution, right? With this reform, and you see that the revenue picked up, and also important is that the central government's share in the total revenue has quickly resumed to the level around 50%. So that's this period. And then with China access to the WTO in 2001, and with the liberalization of the economy and the support of the private and the foreign investment, China enjoyed a rapid growth during this first 2 periods, about 10%. With the support of the more revenues, the government can afford to expand its public services to the citizens. So this is in this third period, the focus has been shifted to how we can provide more public service to the local government, to the local citizens, including the basic education, public health, and the social security network. However, what China has been doing is that the central government holds 50% of the revenue, and then central government doesn't do that much of the service delivery. It imposes the mandates and responsibility to the local governments, and then finance the gap through the transfers. And then they keep on doing this, then becomes excessively a burden of the local government. Basically, there are a lot of unfunded mandates. So what this local government has been doing is that they're relying on the land revenues. So basically, it's that the local government established a kind of special vehicles. So through these vehicles, they make investment in the infrastructure, and then and also invest in the land development and get revenues from the land sales. With this, they finance further, pay back to the investment of the infrastructure. This is how this game playing. So at the early stage, the local government has been very cautious, not overdoing that, because they know that the central government is not going to bail them out. So they do it financing through these special vehicles in a very careful way. What happened is that in 2008, the global financial crisis kicked in. So the central government adopted a very ambitious stimulus package, 4 trillion. And only 1/4 are financed from the central government's own pocket. The rest are pushed to the local governments. And the local governments, of course, they also are shocked with short of the revenues, etc. So they have to rely on this off-budget financing to finance this stimulus package. And on top of that, some of local government even initiated their own stimulus package, because this scheme basically undermines the accountability for the fiscal sustainability. It's kind of, there was a moral hazard, right? So this is how during this period you see very high growth of public investment, and that drove the high economic growth. I don't think let's don't put it in a simple way, it's wrong or right. It's just an approach that at that point you address your bottlenecks first, and then think about how you address the side effects later. That's basically tells the China's approach. I call it problem-solving approach. You don't come up with the comprehensive package, beautiful package, and no, that's not a China approach. You focus on the key emerging challenges and address them, and then worry about the problems later. So then, during this third period, China also start to working on make sure that not only you deliver more and good quality public services, but also make sure that the growth and public services are accessible to all people. So that's where you start to address the urban-rural disparities. So during this period, another major change is that to simplify the fiscal architecture. The administrative architecture, I mean the layer of the government, so there are 5 layers as defined in the Constitution. The China system is a cascading system. So the money comes from the central government and passed down to the province, to the prefecture or municipality, and to the county, to the townships. So in the early stages, the municipality or the prefectures kept most of the resources. for the urban development and leaving those counties, the rural areas, impoverished and underserviced. So to address that, the Ministry of Finance introduced the so-called province directly managing county fiscal system. So that means the money goes from the province, bypassing the municipality, goes straight to the counties. So this is one of the adaptation the system, the fiscal system has been involved to address the urban-rural disparity. Of course, there are many other practices. For instance, China introduced the equalization transfers to make sure that the lagging region will get more revenues and equalize the fiscal capacity across the regions, etc. You can name them on and on. And then, as I said earlier, with this stimulus package, the local government off-budget borrowing has been mounted. So then, from the 2009, after the global financial crisis, China started to address the off-budget budgeting. At the end of 2014, a new budget law was approved. So what they did is that they allow the local government to issue the subnational bonds. So basically, they allowed to incur deficit and borrow in the market on the budget, and then at the same time, swap all the off-budget liabilities on the government's own book. So this is then it's come to the next stage, is that the environment and sustainability becomes an issue, and the government took a strategy to launch 3 campaigns. One is anti-corruption, another one is to address the climate, the air pollutions, and the third is to lift all people out of poverty. So during this period, during this 4th period, so there are a lot of the public sector's expenditure has been slightly shifted toward the addressing the poverty, addressing the environmental challenges. And also during this period, because now with all the massive investment, China already built massive assets, right, public assets. So the focus has been shifted to improve the efficiency of public sector management. And during this time, there's a budget management reform kicked in. This is a very comprehensive reform. I don't have to, basically it covers everything. Then later on, we have a COVID kick in. So the government have to stimulate, provide cushions to the economy, stabilize the economy, and introduce a tax cut and the exemptions to the local firms, etc. So now, the local government also faces 2 challenges. One is that one is the revenue has been grow at a much lower rate due to the decline of slowdown of the economic growth, due to the trade wars with the United States, and also the slowdown of the property markets. The land revenue is declining very significantly. So now they face a new challenges is how you deliver the services with less resources. Many of the local governments nowadays has introduced zero-based budgeting to reprioritize the expenditures and find ways to save the money and deliver more. So I also, with this, I would like to generalize China's approach as a problem-solving approach. So the fiscal policy, the problem-solving approach, it means 3 things. The first is that always have a very clear development vision, and then identify the bottlenecks, and then choose the fiscal regime and policies that is incentive compatible with your development objectives. Of course, through this period, through the course of reform, you have to be very mindful that fiscal policy should be an art of balancing. You have to really manage the trade-off of the short-term goals and the long-term sustainability. Equity with efficiency and fiscal risk. And also you have to manage the competing objectives. And so the China's lessons is that you probably don't have to address all of them at the same time. And it's probably just, basically it may not be feasible, right? So China's approach is that you clearly identify your bottlenecks and address these key bottlenecks, new challenges. And then, but of course, you have to be very mindful about the side effects. When you address one problem, probably the pressure will come in other areas. And you have to address them timely as well. So I would like to also give you an example how when we address how the fiscal governance can lead to improved public services. I would like to share you an example from my own project. We had a subnational governance and a rural service delivery P4R with Hunan province. That project, now it's the 4th year into the implementation. It's already achieved a very tangible results in improving the rural roads services connectivity significantly, and also the reduce the disparities of basic education. So what we have been, the magic is that, the key magic is that we introduced the incentive, the results-based transfer mechanism. So there are, for the rural, for both rural transportation and also for the public education. So the transfer distribution has been shifted from the input and activity-based to outcome-based. And at the same time, we help improve the overall public financial management system, basically to make a space for the local government to manage their own fiscal space. So in that way, it's motivated local government to really deliver and take their own initiative and innovation to deliver to make a plan to invest and deliver those services on their own way. So this is a really kind of a magic to my view, because I'm a TTO. I work with the Hunan province to develop this project. Actually, this is a kind of bit risk-taking, because for the whole project, we focus really on the institution. Of course, we also add a bit more efforts on setting up this capacity building, setting up, for instance, in the rural transportation, we established this rural roads asset management system, etc. So to my surprise that this project really demonstrates how fiscal governance institution can really work. So with this enabling environment and with these incentives built into a system, the local government and the sectors has taken a lot of initiatives to innovate and to find ways to improve their own services. It's really, I really encourage you to look into that project to learn how fiscal institution can really make a difference. And today, I think many colleagues ask whether low capacity, the poor regions can have the capacity to implement reforms. And I think in the Hunan's case, we cover 8 counties. Some of them are really poor, but it shows that actually the capacity is there. You need to find a good institution to unlock those capacities. it's just unbelievable how quick and how many innovations that have been taken. Anyway, let me stop here. And I also want to emphasize that in the last 2 days, I also learned a lot from our colleagues of the neighboring countries, and I also realized that this problem-solving approach China has been adopting is not unique to China. Actually, I see that this approach has been resonated with many other countries, from Vietnam, from South Korea, and from Malaysia, and even today is also anchored very well with the approach our headquarter colleagues are developing, the reimagined public financial management. So I'm very happy to be here to share China experience and find actually I don't really say anything new. You already have been already using the same approach. I hope that you all have success in your future. Thank you.